Man, it's always fun coming here and training in your place. I'm like, this is like something that I dreamed of, like having like a mat space in my own backyard. How long have you had this for?
I had this for about, oh geez, I gotta do some math. Uh, I would say probably 15 years or so. My dad, we got this put in our backyard probably when I was about, I'd say 14 or 15 years old. Maybe a hair or two less. So
It's like a dream, especially like coming from Jersey. If you're like snowed in and you have to drive to get to your gym, you've always had this in your backyard. So on those bad winter days, you're always able to come back here, right?
oh yeah, it's so convenient. I mean, end of the day, it's like you're saying, like, if it snows, you're, you can't go to the gym or there's traffic, whatever it is. This has always been there just for the heat on, and it's very convenient, right? So I definitely love this building. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, so we go way back, like competing when we were kids, like 10, 11, 12 years old, and we're still in it today. But our careers have gone like in different ways, in some ways, and we've kind of come back, after a time. You kind of deviated a little bit, went to school, real work and real life and everything. And I feel like that's kind of changed in a different way where I kind of stayed the competitor path for a long time. But how was that experience for you? Kind of coming out of competing, going to school, going to job, and now coming back now. How has kind of that whole transition been for you?
Yeah, it's been interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, I feel like there's always a time where you can look back and think, what if, or hey, what if I did something different, right? End of the day, the transition was interesting because I was at a point where, I was competing full time basically as a teenager and also wrestling, and then I was given the decision of, hey, I can go to school and wrestle, or I can not go to school and not go to college, maybe continue down the path of becoming or competing at a pro level in jiu-jitsu. And I chose to go the college wrestling route and also get an education as well. And it was a weird transition, kind of understanding and accepting, hey, I might be out of jiu-jitsu for 9 months out of the year, right, and just dedicating myself to wrestling. But at the same time, I also love wrestling, so it was very easy to adapt to once I kind of got with the flow. But even fast forwarding past that, after I graduated from college, getting the job and kind of jumping into the real world for a little bit was very different. Right? I mean, from that point, I told myself, hey, I want to maybe take at least 2 years or so, and I'll still train jiu-jitsu. I'll still go to class and take private lessons, whatever it is. But I'm kind of going to shelf competition right now and just invest time myself to make money, save money, and set myself up for a better financial future. I think that was probably the biggest curveball of all, because replacing jiu-jitsu with college wrestling was kind of a martial art, right? You're on the mats still, you're kind of at home on the mats, but getting a real world job and kind of making that shift for about 2.5 years, that was a big adjustment for me.
Yeah. And would you say that kind of like led you to kind of changing your goals within jiu-jitsu as well? Maybe kind of going through that experience. If you stayed the competitor route, do you think maybe you would have found the merge, you would have been as interested in doing that? Or do you think kind of taking yourself away from the competition scene allowed you to kind of like explore other parts of jiu-jitsu that you were interested in as well?
Honestly, I think taking the step back from competition, kind of like what you were just saying, kind of like sparked or like rekindled a different, I don't want to say a different love for jiu-jitsu, but a different area of jiu-jitsu for me, right? Because I was kind of siloed. I felt like I was very siloed and stuck in a certain way, a certain path, a certain A game that I played, and taking that time off, taking that break a little bit when I ventured back in, I kind of entered with like a new mind, right? And it opened my mind a little bit, and it had me kind of venture down different avenues that changed my game a little bit, had me open-minded towards other techniques and other methodologies, and then of course later down the road, right, the merge, starting stuff like that. But I think the time off essentially, it all wound up working out, right? I mean, I'm happy where I'm at right now. So at the end of the day, I'm happy with the path I took.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about the merge. How did you start it? What were kind of like your inspirations behind it? Tell me just a little bit about it if you can.
Yeah, so the merge is essentially the wrestling guide for jiu-jitsu, as I say, right? Initially, I mean, there's techniques all over, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, I mean, you name it, right? BJJ Fanatics, all those places. Anyone can go all over the internet now and learn. I mean, remember back in like the 90s, 2000s, like you had to get like Black Belt magazine, or you had to know someone, right, or know a black belt back then to kind of learn certain techniques. Nowadays, it's everywhere, right? I mean, to some degree, a person in 2020 that wants to start off learning jiu-jitsu can really just go to YouTube and kind of get an idea of what it is, maybe start learning beginner techniques. Not saying it's going to work, but that was impossible back then, right?
Yeah.
There's so much going on nowadays, and I felt what we were kind of lacking to some degree was there's always been this wrestling gap in jiu-jitsu, right? It's not really a secret. It's always been, I don't want to say a weakness, but it's a thing that most schools don't really, I think, study on or focus on enough, and it's very often overlooked. And my whole life, growing up doing jiu-jitsu, going to college and wrestling, a lot of times, if it was just seminars, classes, rolling with someone, I always got questions around, jiu-jitsu, but a lot of times it was wrestling, right? It was like, hey, how would I do a single leg or a double leg, or hey, you took me out with this, how did you do that, and how would I integrate that into a guard pass, and then I started kind of realizing, like, hey, on top of me already knowing that jiu-jitsu guys don't really focus on wrestling enough, I'm getting a lot of questions here, right? So there's kind of like this little market there, right?
Yeah.
So on top of wanting to market myself and also help give back to the community, because I love teaching, right? I mean, one day I'm going to be a teacher full time. I can't wait for that day. I saw that perfect niche and that gap that I can kind of wedge myself into, and that's how it really began. Instead of not that anything's wrong with this, instead of just showing a technique, I'm putting it on Instagram, for example, and just says, hey, this is my favorite guard pass, I just do it, or this is my favorite takedown, I just do it and that's done. I wanted to make it kind of more personable and like almost like an experience, right? So when I created the merch, I told myself I was going to do an episode formats, right? Nice introduction, kind of going through the technique, going through the pros and cons, why it works, why it doesn't, maybe some mistakes on certain things. I just feel like it connects with the user more, rather than just a 5-second clip of this is my takedown. You get like a 2-3 minute episode. It's me talking about various things in the episode.
Yeah, I feel like, sometimes people are drawn to those quick clip techniques because it's fast, easy to see. Sometimes it's easier for us to digest. But we want to know the ins and outs of some of those techniques as well. Mm-hmm. So that's where you come in, and you can kind of like break it down. You can really understand it better. Like even for me, like just you teaching the details of like your ankle pick that you do where you go inside, just breaking that down, because I tried it once I saw the highlight of your clip. I watched maybe like a couple seconds. I'm like, I'm just going to try this. And I jammed my thumb like immediately on the mat, so it would have been better for me to actually sit and watch the whole episode and see how exactly you're doing everything. Like I even noticed how you rotate your shoulders so that you can get more of a reach and dropping to the knee, so people can watch the clips on Instagram, and that's great. It gives you like an introduction, but it's always good to have that breakdown as well, so that you really know the details of what you're getting into as well.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have had the conversation too, even about, when I go to you with questions, right? I mean, even last night I asked you a question, right? And I can see you do a technique, and then I try and replicate what you do, and then you're like, oh, no, here's the extra detail, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't see that. It's like, that's what you feel, right?
Yeah.
And even if I didn't feel it, you told me, right? So going to what you're saying, yeah, I mean, end of the day, I try not to be too long-winded in the episodes, because, when you hit a video and it's like 8-10 minutes, it's like, okay, it's kind of long,
Yeah.
But if you're like a 3.5 minute range, usually I think people kind of like that range. And it's just trying to give you the most amount of detail in a short amount of time while being efficient and effective, detail-wise. I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially someone that really wants to know the technique, I think they'll gladly stick around for a couple minutes for sure if they really want to get it down right. Man, like on a personal note for yourself, how much do you think that doing this has helped your game? So for me, I even before you came in here, I was even looking at your notepad. You're writing down stuff for future episodes that you want to do, and so that's I already know. I got the sneak preview, but I mean, you're watching a lot of video, you're studying a lot of different people, and granted, it's a lot of takedowns that you probably know, but I'm sure it helps you learn more about the game as well and learn more about wrestling. And I'm sure there's details you hadn't seen before that you're forced to break down, because you want to get it right. You want to explain it right as well and understand what you're explaining. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure this is probably answering for you, but you'd say this has probably helped your game a lot as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've heard it many times before that from many instructors, right? It's like when they start teaching, how much better they become because they start to really nail down and study and think of these details on a next level, right? Because when you're teaching, not that the pressure's on you, but you want to perform and you want to be able to teach your students correctly and have them do techniques the correct way, right? You want to cut corners when you're teaching.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you have all the details straight. I mean, I noticed that, first off, even going back in college, right? So once I was done college wrestling, I coached for 2 years, and I remember telling myself and talking to folks about it after, I was like, man, like I'm 2 years out of college, and I feel like I would have destroyed my senior year college self just from like coaching for 2 years and being off that mat and kind of seeing things from a third person point of view, not having the pressure of like competing or whatever it might be, right? It kind of just teaching opens your mind further. It makes you kind of dive into techniques a little further and really kind of cross those T's, dot those I's. So yeah, to your point exactly, the merge has really, I think, helped me in general just kind of tighten up my game and make sure I don't miss the little things when I'm teaching.
Yeah, and I mean, just going off that a little bit more, like for me, I even feel like I don't teach all the time, but I noticed that at one point I was teaching like a bunch of seminars in one place, and I was teaching kind of the same thing over and over again. And the more I kind of explained the little details to people about the techniques that I was showing, the more I understood it myself. Mm-hmm. And I think teaching helps you understand why you do certain things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when we go into our A game, I don't think we really understand why we do it. We're just like, a lot of times, if it's so natural to us, we're like, oh, because it works.
Yeah.
It works for us. But the more you have to explain to someone who maybe doesn't understand, and you have to really go into those finer details, it helps you understand, oh yeah, I do it because the guy reacts this way, or because the guy reacts that way. You really understand the ins and outs of the game, and like cross your T's, dot your I's type.
Yeah, I think that's also the big difference between a good instructor and a great instructor as well, because there's plenty of guys out there that just say, hey, do this because that's just the way I've done it, or just do that because that's the way it's supposed to be done. But I think you connect with a student on a different level, and you're able to help them learn something a different way when you're able to explain why. If it's just like, hey, grab the wrist here, or you're moving your hips this specific way because their weight's gonna shift that way. That can help a student learn rather than just, oh, hey, do it because I said so.
Yeah.
I think that's a next level, a step up in a teacher's career when they're able to kind of connect the dots that way.
Yeah. I'm definitely not the fastest learner, so I always feel like someone that's able to explain the reasons why you do certain things to me and break it down in smaller details, I feel like it's super important. I've been able to grasp that much better than someone that kind of is like, I do this because of this, and that's it. I'm like, no, I need more than that. We've been training 19 years, but I still feel like I need, the breakdown. And it's like, I think both me and you really appreciate Paulo's classes because he breaks it down well, where techniques that are advanced for even us black belts, we're looking at the blue belts and we're like, what the hell?
I know, actually, just last night in class, remember, I was like, I'm definitely going to mess this up. Like,
but you know what? He explained it well. He showed it a couple times over. He explains why you do certain things as well. For those watching, we're referring to Paulo Meow. But his classes are good just because he knows how to explain things very well, and even the techniques that I feel like diving barambolos isn't necessarily your A game, but you're hitting it a lot easier because he was breaking down the small details. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Paulo himself, right? Great teacher. I mean, goes through techniques very intricately, and it makes a difference for me, right? Someone like me. I like that detail. I like that. I don't like to just kind of walk through class and it's just, hey, do that. I like to know why I'm doing certain things. It helps you learn quicker and easier.
So going back to the merge, what are your future goals with it? What do you kind of want to expand it into if you're looking to expand it any further?
Yeah, so, I mean, Sports Center would be really cool. But no, what I'm hoping the merge kind of turns into, right, what I want to expand it to, I mean, at the end of the day, I'd like it to be eventually a household name, right? I know it sounds kind of like a long reach, but end of the day, I think with time, it could get somewhere like there, right? If it's, hey, if you guys are looking to, or even if it's just someone chatting, it doesn't matter where they're located, right? Hey, you're looking to improve your wrestling. Hey, I know this website, themergeonline.com, right? Or hey, The Merge, go check out The Merge Online. Mm-hmm. They break it down, or Mike breaks everything down and kind of shows you how to integrate it and, merge it into your jiu-jitsu game into one style. I would like it to get to that level, right? And on top of that, I'm looking to, open a school down the road eventually, here in Jersey. And I think what will be really cool, which, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, is I would like to somehow integrate the merge into the school. And what that might mean is, I don't know if it'll be subscriber based or how I'm going to exactly do it, but I would like to somehow have, subscribers maybe have one class a week where they kind of get like a live feed into class in my school, right? And it could be maybe in that class could be specifically for like maybe jiu-jitsu or wrestling for jiu-jitsu or some kind of takedown wrestling class. I would like to take it to that level. So integrating it with the actual school once that comes out, and then just taking it as big as it can get, right? I mean, end of the day, you know, I'm partnered, partnered now with Fuji, my sponsor. But if I can get it on another platform as well, not saying like replacing Fuji in regards to like keeping with them, but if it's on, like I said, I was making the joke of Sports Center, right, or even like Flow or something like that. I mean, that'd be great to partner up with a bigger entity that sees the value, where I can kind of help grow them, and we can both help each other.
Yeah, and I feel like you're coming in at a right time for this as well, because I feel like you see jiu-jitsu kind of shifting to, you know, relying more on wrestling. There was a period of time where there was a lot of like, Barambolas were the thing to do, leg drives were the thing to do, and they still are, but I feel like it's kind of transitioning a little bit, where you see like more wrestling scrambles in like especially no-gi matches. So the changes in trend of competition, I'm sure, weren't like something that you were like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this, but would you say that kind of came at the right time as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. So it's funny you say that, because I think back to, I mean, this is probably even before I started, because you and I have been rolling forever. I mean, I think collectively it's been like 40 years, you and I, over 2020. But like, it kind of reminds me of, like I remember like Lloyd Irving posted something back in the day when he was rolling, like when he used to sit back for leg locks, the crowd would boo him, right? Because back then it was like, oh, that was kind of a cheap way of winning.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing with that, I'm just saying what he said. And I feel like wrestling kind of always got that stigma as well, right? Where it was like, hey, if you won by a takedown, or oh, he's a wrestler, there's this negative stigma, and it's like, hey, it wasn't jiu-jitsu, or he didn't win via jiu-jitsu, or it just wasn't respected. We'll call it that. I feel like now we're at a time, and now could be a loose, 1 to 2 years earlier, and obviously coming up now, where wrestling is actually getting the respect finally, and it's being shown and accepted and promoted, even on like Flow Grappling and ADCCs, all these places, right? So to your point, I think it's a great time, because now people are starting to understand, like, hey, if I want a well-rounded game, and there's the anomalies out there that may not do takedowns and are still world champions, right? But if I want a well-rounded game and I want to compete at the highest level, ADCCs, whatever, not that I need it, it's beneficial to know wrestling, at least know it, right? To a degree of offense, defense. So yeah, I think the merge is coming at an amazing time, and it's great timing, because finally it's getting the respect. People are noticing it, people are realizing it, and now they have a channel and a system or an Instagram page where they can actually learn this stuff for free.
Yeah, well, I mean, even you see like these tournaments like ADCC, it's basically a wrestling tournament. Yeah. So, hey man, you might get a lot more subscribers. People want to do the trials. They're like, I need to up my wrestling. So. I'm
actually very excited for the trials and ADCCs next year, because I'm planning on doing a ton of breakdowns once I see some good takedowns.
Next time we'll make sure we get videos where we actually catch you on camera. The one takedown you hit, it's not like blocked by the referee. We're gonna get different angles next time.
We'll get a few different camera angles. So yeah.
Man, is there anything else you want to add, or anything else you would like to thank? Or I don't know how to end things very well, but.
No, I mean, we covered a lot on the merge, but I wanted to take a second for everyone watching this video and just talk about grip tape for a second, because doing this 20 years, right, being on the mat for 20 years, it's been a long time. I've had a fair share of injuries, some terrible injuries, and from CVS, Walmart tape, for a while I was using this hockey tape. Because hockey tape was the strongest tape I could find. Yeah. And it actually would work okay, but it would rip my skin off. That's how tight it was. It was rough, right? And I just nursed many injuries, right? Already, I'm not gonna go through the laundry list, but one specifically, like I'm always taping my toes, as you know, when I compete, when I fight.
You guys can tape your toes too, so just know that.
You can use grip tape for your toes for sure. I want to break my big toe. I want to dislocating multiple of my toes. Same thing with my fingers. And when grip tape came out, grip tape's has been amazing, right? I use it all the time. It stays on. It doesn't rip your skin off. And it supports your joints, and it really helps me, right? End of the day, especially toes. Toes are kind of a weird thing to tape, and tape can easily slide off once you get sweaty. But no, grip tape's been amazing. I love grip tape. I've used it for a long time now since it came out. I'm going to continue using it. I just want people to know that's watching this. Buy grip tape, try it out. I've literally been doing this 20 years. I've had tons of injuries. This guy's been doing this 20 years. And you have a guy that, you know, co-created and is literally working night and day on this product. And he's been through the same kind of experience I've been. So you got a guy that's been on the mats 20 plus years, also has done injuries, also been through all the kind of tape out there.
You need it when your hands get like...
Yeah, I'm not that cool. My hands aren't that messed up. But long story short, try it out. It's been wonderful for me. I've loved it, and I'm gonna keep using it. So
cool, man. Thank you for the plug. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Guys, check out the merch as well. And that's all I gotta say.
And if you live in Northern Jersey, 2022, check out Trasso Jiu-Jitsu and Wrestling. We're opening up soon.